So, greetings. My name is Saloni Kaul, and I'm the founder and CEO of It's People, an HR business consulting firm. And today we're going to be talking about the performance management process. So, what really is the performance management plan? So, organization use PMS, in other words, the performance management system, to align their employees and key resources to the strategic objectives and priorities that the business wishes to achieve. And this is so that they're able to ensure that those goals are being consistently met in a most efficient and effective manner. And to do that, we need to have a great performance management system in place. So it's not an easy field. It takes quite a bit of effort and practice. But an organization, and especially when we talk about the HR department, when they start facilitating a session on performance management, when they start bringing about the change that is desired in the way an organization actually goes about setting goals and ensuring that those goals are being met, that's when the PMS process becomes much more smoother. So, when it comes to PMS, there are various considerations that an organization needs to look at. For example, how does it do its goal setting? How does it go about training its people? How does it go about not just setting the goals, but also ensuring that they are done realistically? How does then one go about reviewing people, and what all do we need to review? What all kind of metrics are there that need to be ensured, that need to be in place? So, what we've seen is that it's not just what we want to achieve. It's also not just the external factors, it's also the intrinsic factors that need to be looked at while designing a performance management system. So, right starts from vision to mission to goals to strategies to achieving those goals. And then, of course, the primary key activities that employees need to perform, the action plans that need to take, the reviews that need to happen so that we have a plan for achieving those goals. So let's look at what are those intrinsic factors. Number one is the business strategy, and number two is the talent strategy. A business strategy is a kind of a plan in which a set of decisions are taken to helping any business achieve its specific business objectives. It is like a master plan that an organization can use to secure not just a very unique competitive place in the market, a position where it can carry its operations, it can really delight its customers, and then also achieve its desired result. So there are broadly three categories of strategies. Mostly, we look at operational excellence, we look at product leadership, and then we look at customer intimacy. How do we use business strategies is basically left to the business. But when we know what is it that we are looking at, what is it that we are trying to achieve, that's where we start putting our focuses on the process, on the goals that we need to achieve, and hence decide what kind of goals are those goals going to be, which the business is going to finally track, measure, analyze, improve, and have a way of achieving them. So those would be the intrinsic factor, which is business strategy. Next, we look at, you've probably heard about the culture of an organization. So, no matter how good your business strategy is, but if you don't have a great culture, then culture will eat your strategy for business. So, it's important for us to understand that the organizational environment, in fact, the culture of the environment, together with the talent strategy, is a big factor in ensuring a very smooth, glitch free performance management system. So, a culture comprises of the values and the principles and basically the way people behave and perform in an organization, right? So, it consists of the organizational structure, the characteristics, and the dynamics of the workforce. And talent strategy is basically a description of the organization's guiding principles for how do you select people, how do you measure what they do, how do you develop them, how do you actually enhance them, how do you make sure that they go on to deliver great results, then how do you reward them for those great results? How do you compensate them? What's your total reward strategy like? So there are many things that we look at when we look at the talent strategic piece. So these two together basically help us understand how the performance management system should really get designed. So the PMS cycle is a model that enables management and the employees to achieve those goals that we've been talking about so far in a much more effective manner and through a very structured process. Let's look at what that process is and why is it so important. So the process helps organizations to formally track and monitor the performance, right? Not right from the top, going down to the levels at a departmental level, at a manager level, at an employee level, such that we are able to not just track where the organization as a whole is heading, but also how do we then go about rewarding them. So here's a model, and it's image courtesy valamis.com, which tells us what are those four stages. The number one stage is setting goals, which is all about planning what kind of metrics you want to measure, what kind of goals you want to achieve. And when we talk of planning, we always talk about SMART goals. And SMART is always about being specific, about being measurable, about being achievable, relevant, and of course, time bound. Second in the stage is monitoring, which then moves on to reviewing. So once we know what we want to achieve, we start tracking the progress more regularly so that we're able to, deal with the day-to-day challenges. And at a little bigger level, we start evaluating what kind of results, what kind of metrics that we really wish to see performance coming. Those are the metrics that we start actually reviewing. And then comes the rewarding part where we obviously want to give recognition and reward good performance. So let's now just look at each of these stages in a little more detail. So the groundwork for success is laid during the planning stage. That's when not just the business strategy, not just the talent strategy is being looked at. We're also deciding what kind of goals and objectives should we really be looking at. How are those goals and objectives going to get delegated down the levels? What kind of goals do we want to pursue and how much enhancement are we looking to achieve? And that's where we talk about how relevant they are, how achievable they are, how realistic they are. So planning basically involves the overall strategy of the business. It also looks at people, it also looks at departments. So it covers not just the organization's aspirations, it also looks at what would be those goals, those specific tasks, those activities that the organization and the business really wishes to see happening. And that's what we cover in the planning part. When we look at the planning, like I said, we look at SMART goal setting. We want to look at goals as specific. We want to look at goals that are measurable, that are attainable, that are relevant, and they are time specific. So this is a collaborative process. For example, when we say specific, what do you want to really accomplish? That's what this question is about. When you want to measure what's really the metric that you wish to assess, to evaluate, so that you know exactly how far you've come to the goal that you want to achieve. Are you at 70% level? Are you at 100%? Or are you at a lower level? So the measure part, the metric part becomes very important because this tells us exactly how and when it will look like when a goal has been accomplished. Similarly, if the goal is realistic and attainable, if it is a goal that's worth working hard for, and if it is a goal, by when will it be accomplished? All of these aspects are looked at when we are setting the plan. That's when we are planning goal setting. Next comes in the process is monitoring. So why monitoring and why is it so important? Because it's a critical function that we look at when we are not just on the day-to-day basis, when we are achieving the goals, when we are working on something that will help us achieve those big goals, so something that we do on a day-to-day basis. So it's important to look at monitoring because when we monitor what's happening at the unit level, then the big goals happen. If we were to monitor something that could have been, reviewed or could have been monitored, at a small level when it was just a tiny bit, but if we didn't do it, at the tiny level, and in fact, if we were to wait for it several months down the line, and then we started to look at whether the thing was happening or not, then it would not be as effective. Because if you check something only once or twice in a big period, then it's too late for us to know whether that activity or that goal is actually being achieved or not. But when you track it regularly, when you measure what's happening on a regular basis, it just helps not just the employee, but also the manager, also the people above various levels understand where we are really headed. And this small activity of monitoring actually helps to keep things in perspective, to check in on the progress. And if there's any challenge that's coming in the way, it quickly gets highlighted and can be dealt with while it is still small. So that's why monitoring becomes very important. And this is the second stage. The third stage is now about reviewing. Now, the reviews can happen end of the year, or they can happen at like a 6 monthly or even a quarterly reviews, as many organizations follow a quarterly review system. The idea is that the from the day to day reviews or monitoring, when we start reviewing results in a bigger time scale, we're able to see how much far we've come forward. And I always talk about the OKR here, especially when we're doing quarterly reviews. So an OKR really tells us that, for an objective that we had taken for the entire year, and we were looking at certain key results, let's say quarterly results. Have we really achieved? Have we really reached where we thought we would have reached in a quarter? And if not, then we really do know that, the day-to-day progress, the weekly or the monthly reviews that we were happening, were those really effective? Were those really, did they really catch where we were going wrong, or where things could have actually be, controlled or managed when they were detected, when those challenges or small issues were detected in a timely way. So, reviews help us to not just look at the goal achievement in a little bigger perspective. It's also an opportunity to collaborate with the employee. Here's when a manager also is able to give feedback, is able to let people know how great a job they're doing, or where they need to improve further. And in a sense, reviews are not what would you know generally be seen as just a cold way of looking at hard facts. It is a great exercise, especially when done all throughout the year, because it just helps the bond part to become even much more developed. When employees and managers work together in a more collaborative way, and in a way where managers coach employees for improved performance, where they build employees, where they develop employees, where they train employees so that they're able to improve upon their performance. These reviews are do play a very, very important role. So we've done planning, we've done monitoring, and we've done reviewing, right? And now we want to look at the end of the review, we want to look at, when we were setting the goals, were they realistic? Was the goal in line with the organization's objectives? I'm sure some of these questions, as you read them, they are good, powerful questions to reflect upon, which if you think, well, yes, this is important, then do go ahead and see whether the process that you are following in your organization, if this is meeting the standard. If not, then you can go back and look at what are the changes that you'd like to make within the PMS that you are following in your own company. So, what aspects of the PMS could be streamlined or improved? What more support can you, as HR or business leader, offer to your teams so that they're able to achieve the goal with minimal hitches or challenges? Next comes the fourth part, which is rewarding. Of course, everybody loves to get rewarded for great performance. We all love that. So, rewarding is the final stage of PMS. It's a very important stage, right? We should never overlook it, even though it's not something that every performance management system typically looks at, because it's almost always considered as an extension to the PMS. However, we all know that when employees are, when they do get rewarded for, and they do get recognized for the efforts that they are making, for the contributions, for all that hard work, for all the improvements they are making to themselves, their own performance, contributing to the department. There is a lot of motivation that they receive when they are acknowledged for great performance. So it's a great thing to always commend and reward and even acknowledge, even celebrate those employees who are doing a good job at their goals, who are really raising the bar for themselves and for their colleagues. So, yes, a very important part of rewarding, which every organization and every manager should certainly look at. So, when management fairly rewards and recognizes employees for their efforts, it ensures that those employees will continue to work hard and they will continue to achieve organizational goals. Here are some of the rewards that might be offered. Now, this is not just about increasing compensation, it is also about recognizing, about letting people know, and about letting people know how great job they've done. It could come in the form of a promotion, it could be some vacation time, some special projects, some one time bonus. There are many, many ways. And we don't necessarily have to look at financial rewards. Some rewards can be in kind as well. So we come to the end of this presentation where we take a quick look at who are the key stakeholders and what are their roles and the entire PMS cycle. Number one are reviewers, who are the business leaders. They're the one who provide strategic direction. They give inputs. They have a plan as to how to make the business grow and take people along with them. And they enable a performance driven culture by instilling key values. That's the role of the business leader. Next comes the co owners of this process, who are basically all the employees and their managers. So the employees are expected to achieve, to perform, to achieve business results. They are expected to be open to feedback and take action on it. And the manager expected to make sure that he's embracing the organizational plan and then translating the business strategy and converting it into direct actions, cascading those actions, those actionable items to his team and individuals to drive the results. The facilitators are obviously the HR department, who design and facilitate the entire PMS process. They really ensure the sanity of implementation, the process rigor and quality. And finally, they use the data from the PMS process for subsequent compensations, promotions, learning and development actions. So we come to the end of this session today, and I hope this was useful. And we look forward to your feedback or any of the questions that you may have, and we'll be happy to answer them. Thank you.